For over 40 years, Edgar Cayce, known as the sleeping prophet, would lie down, close his eyes, and drift into a deep, still place between waking and sleep. In that sacred space, he would speak, and what came through him touched the hearts and souls of thousands. Among the countless teaching he brought forward, there was one truth he called the highest, the most important, the very purpose of human life. He called it the Christ consciousness. This was not about joining a religion. It was not about worshipping a figure in history. It was, as Cayce described, the living presence of unconditional love, perfect forgiveness, and the awareness that there is only one life, one divine source, flowing through all beings. Today, I invite you to walk with me through the heart of Cayce's vision of Christ consciousness. We will see what it truly means, we will explore how it can be lived, and we will allow ourselves to feel it here and now, in this moment. So, find a comfortable place, breathe deeply, and let us step together into the light of this truth. Edgar Cayce was born in 1877 in a small farming community in Kentucky. He grew up in a simple home, rooted in the Christian faith of his family. As a child, he was known for his honesty, his gentleness, and a quiet inner depth that few could fully understand. When he was a young man, something extraordinary happened. Cayce discovered that when he entered a certain deep, meditative state, he could answer questions with remarkable details and accuracy, even on subjects he has never studied. Doctors came to him with cases they could not solve, and in his trance state, he would give precise medical advice describing the causes of illness and the remedies needed. He could speak of the soul's past lives, the nature of the spirit, and the hidden laws that govern creation. Over the course of his life, more than 14,000 of these readings were documented. And while people came to him for healing, for answers about relationships, careers, or the mysteries of histories, Cayce's highest message was always the same. We are here to awaken our oneness with the divine, to live in the Christ consciousness. In his own words, the Christ consciousness is that awareness within each soul, which seeks at all times to be at one with the creative forces, or God. He made it clear that this is not the property of any single religion. It is not the possession of one culture or one tradition. It is the birthright of every soul. When most people hear the name Christ, they think of a person, Jesus of Nazareth. Cayce honored Jesus deeply, but he made a clear distinction. Jesus was the man, Christ is the consciousness. Christ is the pattern, the perfect reflection of the divine nature in human form. Jesus fully embodied that pattern, showing us that it is possible to live as pure expression of love and unity. Cayce said, "The Christ consciousness is the awakening to the fact that the soul is in and of God, and that each thought, each act, each word may be in accord with the divine purpose." This means that Christ consciousness is not something far away, waiting for us in some distant heaven. It is already here, within the heart of every person, waiting to be uncovered. It is the awareness that love is our true nature, that forgiveness is the natural state of the awakened heart, and that separation is only an illusion. Imagine for a moment if you could see the entire world through eyes that never judge, that never condemn. Imagine loving everyone you meet, not for what they have done, but simply because they are, like you, a spark of the infinite. That is the vision Cayce was pointing toward. Cayce often described Christ consciousness as a vibration, a frequency within the soul. Like tuning a musical instrument, we can bring ourselves into harmony with this vibration. He spoke of several qualities that naturally arise when we live in this state. Love without condition. Love, Cayce said, is the law of God. To love without expecting anything in return is to reflect the heart of the Christ. It is love for the sake of love itself, a love that sees beyond flaws, beyond mistakes, beyond appearances. Take a moment now and think of someone you care for deeply. Feel the warmth that rises in your heart as you think of them. Now, imagine extending that same warmth to someone you barely know, or even someone you have struggled with. This is the training of the heart toward unconditional love. Forgiveness and release. Forgiveness, according to Cayce, is the key to freedom. It is not about approving of harmful actions, but about releasing yourself from the chains of anger and resentment. When you forgive, you are no longer carrying the weight of the past. You are opening the door for healing, both for yourself and for the other. Oneness with all creation. In the Christ consciousness, we see the truth that all life flows from the same source. The tree, the river, the bird in flight, the strangers on the street, the friend beside you, all are part of you. To harm another is to harm yourself. To bless another is to bless yourself. Service as divine expression. Service is love in action. When we serve, not from duty or guilt, but from joy, we are living as the Christ lives within us. Cayce often reminded his listeners that even the smallest act of kindness can be an offering to the divine. Inner attunement to the higher self. Christ consciousness is not reached by accident. It is cultivated through daily practice. Prayer, meditation, quiet reflection. These are the ways we tune our hearts to the higher vibration. Edgar Cayce always emphasized that Christ consciousness is not just an idea we admire. It is a state we live into, moment by moment. Like any skill, it must be cultivated. And the tools for this cultivation are surprisingly simple. Morning alignment. Cayce encouraged people to begin each day with a conscious connection to the divine. Before you even rise from bed, take 3 deep breaths and say silently within yourself, "Here I am, Lord. Use me as a channel for your love today." This is not about forcing anything. It is simply tuning the instrument of your soul before the day begins. Meditation and prayer. Cayce called meditation listening to God and prayer speaking to God. Both are essential. He advised finding a quiet space, closing the eyes, and focusing the mind gently on a single uplifting thought or word, such as peace, love, or light. This simple act, practiced daily, creates an inner stillness in which the higher awareness can be felt. Service in small things. One of Cayce's most beautiful teaching was that every act of service, no matter how small, carries spiritual power. Holding the door for a stranger, speaking a kind word to someone who feels unseen, sending a silent blessing to someone in pain. These are ways of living Christ consciousness in the midst of everyday life. Self examination and forgiveness. At the end of the day, Casey suggested taking a moment to reflect. Where did I allow love to flow freely today? Where did I close my heart? If you see moments where fear or anger ruled, do not judge yourself harshly. Instead, offer forgiveness to yourself as you would to a dear friend, and set the intention to do better tomorrow. By practicing these simple steps each day, the soul's natural vibration rises, and the Christ consciousness within you begins to shine more steadily. Cayce's teachings on Christ consciousness align closely with what mystics from many traditions have called non duality, the understanding that all apparent separation is an illusion and that all is one in the source. For Cayce, this was not an abstract philosophy, it was a lived reality, one that could transform how we see the world and ourselves. When you begin to feel the Christ consciousness, the lines between me and you, us and them, begin to fade. You may find yourself speaking more gently because you recognize the same life force in the other person that lives in you. You may feel more compassion towards those who seem lost because you sense that they are, in truth, part of the same great whole. Casey said, "Know that all souls are equal before God, and that the Spirit of the Christ is in each." This means that the Christ consciousness is not a private treasure, it is a shared reality. It is like the sun, it shines on everyone, without preference or condition. And when you are aligned with it, you become a window for that light to enter the world. Now, if you are able, find a comfortable position where you can sit without strain. Allow your eyes to gently close. Take a deep breath in through the nose and let it out slowly through the mouth. One more. In and out. Bring your attention to the center of your chest, to your heart space. Imagine a small, radiant light there, warm and golden. With each breath, see this light grow brighter, softer, more expansive. Now, think of someone you love deeply. See them standing before you, smiling. Allow your heart to send them the pure warmth of that light. Next, imagine someone you feel neutral about, perhaps an acquaintance or someone you pass by in daily life. Send them that same warmth. Finally, bring to mind someone you have struggled with. It might be hard, but try to let the light flow to them as well, remembering that they, too, are a spark of the same source. In this moment, you are touching the Christ consciousness, a state where love flows freely, without barriers, without expectations. Stay here for a few breaths, and when you are ready, gently open your eyes. Edgar Cayce's message was always simple at its core. You are not separate from God. You are not separate from one another, and your purpose is to awaken to this truth through love in action. Christ consciousness is not something you must earn. It is what you are already. It is the light within you, waiting to be uncovered and shared. As we go back into our daily lives, may we remember Cayce's words. Let that mind be in you which was also in Christ Jesus, who thought it not robbery to be equal with God. The invitation is always here, always now, to see the divine in yourself, to see it in others, and to live from that place. That is the journey. That is the awakening. That is the Christ consciousness.